Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Geri Puleo, and as an expert in workplace burnout, I'm often asked, what is the difference between a high achiever and an overachiever? Well, there is a difference, and you may be asking, why is this important that we understand the difference between a high achiever and an overachiever? Well, high achievers tend not to burn out, but the overachievers do tend to burn out. So let's understand what the difference is between a high achiever and an overachiever. The biggest difference is that the high achiever has high standards and expectations, but they also have boundaries. That's key. If you want to avoid burnout or overcome burnout, it's important that you establish boundaries. In other words, what will I do? What won't I do? When will I do it? How long will I do it? And to what level will I do it? High achievers know when something is good enough and it is excellent, but high achievers don't strive for perfection. Now, in contrast, if you talk about the overachievers, well, a lot of the overachievers are perfectionists. But based on my research on gender differences in burnout, in speaking with many women who have burned out, many of them were overachievers, but they weren't necessarily perfectionists, or so they thought. Perfectionism basically says that the standards should be here, but I want my standards to be all the way up here because I'm different, because I want it to be excellent. A lot of times perfectionists have an innate sense of feeling inferior. Their self-esteem may be lower. In other words, the perfectionism is an armor that is worn so that the individual doesn't feel as less than, okay? And think about it. If you have these extremely high standards, the reality is you probably will not ever achieve them. It's just the nature of the beast. And what's even more important is that your high standards might just be a lot higher than what is expected of you. Now, some of you, especially if you're an overachiever, will say, well, isn't the goal to exceed expectations? Well, that's one of those marketing phrases that I really hate. It is important to make sure that people are happy with the work that you do and that you do work that will help them to achieve their needs and goals. But the problem here is that when you're an overachiever, you tend to ignore what is necessary and get caught up in stuff that is way more important. The other thing is overachievers don't have the boundaries that the high achievers do have, and that the high achievers constantly implement in their lives to reduce their stress. High achievers tend to know when they're doing too much and they back off from it. Overachievers keep pushing and they keep pushing. And the problem with an overachiever is these are usually the human doings instead of the human beings. These are the people that everybody else tends to look at and go, I don't know how you do this. This is absolutely amazing. I mean, you're a parent. You homeschool your children. You are a vice president of a corporation. You have a side hustle. Your house is always perfect. And it keeps on going and going and going. Overachievers try to be perfectionists in every area of their lives. And the bottom line is when you say yes to one thing, you've got to say no to something else. And that's where the boundaries come in. So when you look at these differences between the high achiever who has high goals but is able to implement boundaries and the overachiever who has higher goals and can't implement any boundaries, I think you can see why the overachievers tend to be much more prone to burning out. So, what I'd like you to do is take a look at the way you live your life. Are you an overachiever and getting stressed out and feeling burned out? Or are you a high achiever who can be happy in the fact that you're doing great work but you're also taking care of yourself by setting those boundaries. Good luck.